Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. What we're going to be talking about today are some mistakes that programmers make, especially when they're beginners, especially when they just started learning how to code. And I just thought I'd make this video and talk about some things that you can eliminate early on and just avoid making these simple mistakes. Now, I've made these mistakes in the past, and I think, the best way to learn is to learn from other people's mistakes without making them yourself. And so if you can avoid these mistakes, it'll just make your progress that much faster. So if you're new to the channel, my name is John Vine, and what we do here is we try to help you guys, become software engineers and achieve your goals, right? If you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. So the first thing I realized that beginners do when, they're starting to learn how to code, they think that, they think that what being a software engineer is you sit down, you code, and you just code every single solution. Everything can just be solved with you coding something, right? This can't be farther from the truth. A lot of the times when you're at work, you're gonna realize that there's a problem that you can't solve, right? And then when you're gonna go looking for solutions online, you're gonna realize that not only do other people have solutions that you can use whenever you want, right? Coding isn't like, it's not like an exam where you can't use other solutions you find online. There's a ton of stuff you can find online, especially on places like Stack Overflow, where people have solved the problems that you're already having, right? So instead of you having to code a solution, you find someone else's solution and kind of use that as motivation for yours, right? Not only this, but there's many times that the problem you're having can be solved by using a framework or some sort of library that's online. Let's say like some open source library on GitHub, and you don't really have to code something from scratch, right? For example, let's say if you wanted to implement some like real-time chat into an application you have, right? You wouldn't do that from scratch. There's a ton of libraries already online that help you kind of do that kind of thing. So basically what I'm trying to say is you don't have to code everything yourself, and a lot of beginner programmers think that you do, and they just don't know how many resources are out there and that are already built to make your life easier, right? You don't have to rebuild the wheel and do something if there's a very easy, simple solution that a lot of people have trusted online. And so, yeah, that's kind of one thing I just wanted to let you guys know as you're starting to learn. There's a ton of things available online, especially like a ton of open source libraries that you should definitely take advantage of. Now, another mistake that a lot of beginner programmers make, I definitely did when I was starting out, is that, you don't really read documentation. You avoid reading it because it either looks too boring or just too intimidating. And, you don't really want to get into the documentation because it just makes things too complicated, right? Now, what you have to understand is when you're going to be using some kind of framework online or some, third-party API, whatever it may be, the documentation was there and made by the developers. So it's most of the time the best resources that you can use if you have any type of question or running into any type of problem. The first thing I do if I'm using like a third-party API or some kind of library I found online, and it's not working, right? The first thing you do is you look at the documentation, you kind of try to explain the problem you have and see if there's an answer found in the documentation there. Now, most of the times it will be. There's a lot of pretty bad documentation out there, or just badly written documentation out there for sure. But most of the time you won't have trouble finding the solution to the problem you have by looking at the documentation. There might be some setting you have set incorrectly, or just something you did wrong. And so basically the documentation is the handbook for whatever you're using, whatever tool you're using. And when you have a certain problem, that's when you go to the documentation, right? You don't just read it for no reason. You only go to it when you have a certain problem and you think it can be solved by the documentation. So yeah, in my opinion, for any kind of library that you're using, the documentation is a great source of information and you should definitely be using it. And the last mistake that I see a lot of beginner programmers make is that they try to build the next Facebook right off the bat, right? We've talked about this before on my channel, but what you have to understand when, you have this idea of, okay, I'm going to become a millionaire, I'm going to become a billionaire, make the next Facebook and kind of make the next app that'll make me a ton of money, right? These kind of applications have tons of people working on them, and there was years and years of work put into these applications. So when you're just starting to learn how to code and you have this idea, it's very easy to see that make the next Facebook and do all that, you need a ton of resources and a ton of knowledge and expertise that you won't really have when you're starting out. So what this kind of does is that you realize that, oh my God, I can't build the next Facebook, and then you end up quitting. But what you really want to do is start off with a ton of small projects, kind of work on those, build up your experience, and then you could definitely, there's nothing stopping you from making the next Facebook. But what I'm saying is don't try to do it too early because it'll demotivate you and you're not going to succeed. So guys, I hope you found this content useful. Let me know if you like this kind of content. I'll make more in the future. If you like the content, feel free to like, subscribe, and yeah, leave a comment below if you want to join the discussion. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching and have a good day.